1935, the Lions win the NFL championship. The Detroit Tigers take the World Series. The Red Wings bring home Lord Stanley's Cup. Joe Louis begins his rise to world domination. This transforms the Motor City into Detroit, City of Champions. Hey, there you go. Crack of the bat.
We're back.
It is time for a little Detroit City of Champions. I'm Jamie Flanagan.
Charles Avison.
And talking about the magnificent year of 1935, everything that led up to it, the players, the coaches, the games, the teams, everything that led to that Detroit City of Champions. I tell you, I've been doing a lot of stuff in and around the city. Detroit's launching a new Ice Cube has that 3-on-3.
Yes.
And Detroit's got a team, the Amps.
Awesome. Is it? I haven't been following that league. Is it? How new is it? I mean,
this is the league's been around for the league.
Well, I know the league's been around, but I didn't know there was
this is Detroit's inaugural.
Oh, cool.
Right? Yeah. So the Amps are playing. They have some pretty fun people that you would probably know.
Again, who are they?
I don't know.
Well, tell me their names. You have their roster.
I met them. I hung out with them.
What's their names?
I don't. Oh God.
Hit me with them.
Now I got to go all the way back.
Well, you got to do it.
And then I brought it up. But they had a big launch. Do you know the Iceman? He's the coach.
What? Like we mean George Gervin or something? Who's
yeah.
Oh, okay.
George Gervin, the Iceman. Okay. George Gervin.
Cool.
He's the coach. That's the only one I remember. And I just remember Iceman. I don't remember George Gervin. But I took a couple of my high school, as I'm fumbling through here to try to find these. I took some of my high school kids down for the launch, right? And so they got to do some one-on-one interviews because they know who these people are.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know who all these people
are. There any former Pistons out
there? There's some people in the thing. All right, here we go. The Detroit Amps. And it was fun. There's a Born in Detroit t-shirt company, and they have a shop down there. And so George Gervin, Joe Johnson.
Yeah, he's a shooter. Yeah.
He's the co-captain. Jeremy Pargo, big
not as familiar with him.
4-point record holder in the Big Three.
Okay.
Darnell Jackson, NCAA championship team. Shakur Justin, a national champion. Ray Nixon, Keith J. Stone, and TJ Lang is one of the owners, a football guy.
Yeah.
He's one of the owners.
He used to play for the Lions.
Of the franchise. Yep, TJ Lang. Anthony Tomey, an MLB player, is part owner and part of the Born in Detroit brand. And so, there you go. So those were the people that were down there for this big press conference that my kids got.
So are those the players in the team that you're mentioning? Or are those
some
guys
of them.
Executives?
No, Shakur is.
Some of them I've never heard of.
Yeah, Ray is.
Most of them I've never heard of.
Yeah. So Keith Stone.
They need to make a couple of signings, get some stars.
Yes. Well, I mean, it's that 3-on-3. It's
I know, but the 3-on-3 they usually have a couple stars you get on that team. Like that's kind of the hook for the league is that they have three former stars that are going against three other former stars.
Right. So Joe, I think Joe Johnson was.
He's our
big one.
No, he's the big one. Yeah,
he's the big one. So anyway, that was
good.
Fun.
Well, Joe Johnson's good.
So I've been it's like, and it was funny because they were talking. And they were talking about, Detroit and championships. And I'm like, and nobody quite hit it, and I'm like, so, but I ended up rubbing shoulders and talking to a few people and throwing the champion story out there. And I was just excited about sharing the story with different people in person. So there's been a couple of events like that I've done lately and just talked to people, man. And they're like, oh my God. So it's been fun, but you've been super busy with your store because this whole podcast revolves around and sprung from the books, right?
Yeah.
And your project with the books and what you've been doing with the books is you've been selling them at the store, right? And
you've been really gift shop.
Is it called Made in Michigan?
No, the store's called Inspire Marketplace. And it's a Made in Michigan gift shop.
Right.
So it's that's like basically the concept is I've talked about a lot on the show, but usually I talk about kind of at the end of the show to talk about where the books are available, it's like a giant indoor art fair. And so we have 110 different artists between the three stores we have.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's this huge, you come in and it's in the malls. It's at the three biggest malls in Detroit area. We're in 12 Oaks Mall in Novi, Partridge Creek in Clinton Township, and then Briarwood Mall in Ann Arbor. really the only mall that we're not in. That's a major mall is Somerset.
Right.
But they've got a store called the Detroit shop, which is like, they kind of have that territory locked in. Like we can't penetrate that market.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah,
Chris chimed in.
Oh, hey, what's up, Chris?
I texted him like, dude, guess what's going to happen in a minute.
Yeah.
So he's
Good
like,
to see you, man.
I'm so glad he chimed in.
Yeah.
But so the stores were having a little bit of trouble. And you've been really focused on getting that. And there's some great news about maybe a store at the airport, an outlet at the airport, and then branching out to maybe, Traverse or Grand Rapids and all kinds of stuff.
Oh, so it's really interesting, I think, because, from the very beginning of this, like when I first wrote the books, especially the first book, I'm like, I just discovered the greatest season in the history of American sport.
Right.
This is that is a fact. There's no other season that can compare with this. And the fact that I've said this a million times in the show, but the fact that like nobody's ever heard of it, it's not even mentioned in these other books, is just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, there's a gap in the understanding of who we are and how we got here. This is an absolute, and it's like, I mean, this is like ready-made for like the biggest sports movie ever filmed. I mean, it's got everything.
Yeah. And
it's like, it's got everything that a great sports story or any story should have. And so, I just told myself, I'm like, this is, when I first put the book out back in 2008, I'm like, this thing is like, I didn't even plan on this lasting more than like a year.
Right.
I thought that like when I put this book out, it was going to get it to the newspapers. The newspapers are going to be like, oh my God, this is like the biggest thing we've ever heard of, how we never talked about this.
Right.
And then like everybody else in the world was going to take off and run with it. I thought maybe, and I was like, well, this is a good launching point for my sort of my writing career, my career in history and stuff. Because I'm the guy that sort of discovered this, and this is this incredible story. And so I was like, this is a good, and then I can like pursue other interests. I had a list of other things I wanted to do. And then, but like, it was just like when I released the book, it was like nothing could have prepared me for just how nothing happened. Like, it was like, nobody cared. It was like, it was not, I mean, not, I don't want to say nobody, because there's like, I met like Tom, and I met people that got, whatever, like people like that. But as far as like the mainstream, anything, newspapers, radio, TV, there was absolutely no interest whatsoever. And I had like people they tell me one thing, they do another. I try to hook up with like the Save Detroit Tiger Stadium group. That was like, they were trying to save Tiger Stadium. I was trying to make this book like I was trying to make it so it was like a fundraising device for that, for this Tiger Stadium, trying to save Tiger Stadium. That, I got, crapped in the face with that whole thing. That same exact thing as the newspapers, where it was like told one thing and then it just never happened, and it was like one thing after another. It was the most frustrating, maddening, most like ridiculous thing. Like,
so what do you do?
I had no understanding what was going on, because I'm like, I've got the greatest story in the greatest season in the history of American sport right here. Why does nobody care? Why is it not in there? And it's like, every once in a while somebody go, well, it happened a long time ago. And it's like, there's people alive that still remember that, like the 1935. At the time it was 2008.
So you were, you tripled down and wrote 2 more books.
Well, the thing is, what it was, I'm telling you, it's a strange thing. Like, it's weird, because like a lot of times, a lot of people, there's like the world that's like right in front of your face. Right. But then there's like, you read stories as you go, at least I read stories my whole life growing up of people that were like in pursuit of just like idealism and like in like some kind of a passion or some type of a quest or whatever. And like the money meant nothing. The danger meant nothing. The tribulations meant nothing. The sacrifice meant nothing. It was the pursuit of the goal, the pursuit of the objective is all that mattered. And so like, that's kind of what happened to me, because especially when like there's this moment, I know I've talked about it in the show, but there was this moment where everything hit me all at once. Okay. Like I was like, it was like the 5th or however many newspaper writer in the row that just, like all of a sudden, like, oh, I want to write a story on this. And then it's like something else was like, oh, well, I got too busy. I can't do it. I'm working on a story about like why Allen Iverson wears cornrows in his hair.
Right.
I mean, that's legitimately what a response I got, I'm like, it was like all these things hit me. And then like the worst of it was probably the most deflating thing was I worked on Mackinac Island for 7 years as a dock porter. And I worked for a company called Mission Point, a resort up on Mackinac Island. And I was so broke and I had nothing. I had basically all of my hopes for this book were completely destroyed. I had 2,000 copies of the book that I'd printed, ready to sell, ready to do whatever with. And I had no direction. I had nothing I could do. I mean, I had done pretty well. I'd sold a little bit at the mall at Birchwood Mall in Port Huron. I mean, I'd sold some books there for Christmas. That's like it's a smaller mall or whatever. And it just, it was good. I'd made a couple bucks during that, but that money was gone at this point. This is like, January, it was like March or April of like 2009. And then I was like, I got no other choice. I got to go back to Mackinac Island and see if I can scrape some dollars together for the summer.
Yeah.
Get my old job back from a few years ago. I mean, it was almost like a panic. And so I called up this hotel and I'm like, hey, I worked there for 7 years. I was the manager of the docks, the bell stand, the dock porter. I was a manager up there too. I'm like, hey, I'll just come back up there and work as a dock porter. I don't even care. I'll take the lowest level job you got. And then this is the worst part about it was that they actually said, no, we don't, we're not hiring for the summer. We've already filled all those positions. So I couldn't even get my job back of something I did when I was like 21 years old. And here I am, like, I was going on 30 years old at that point. And I couldn't believe it. I had no idea which way to go, and it was like, and then so it was like, there's a quote by Abraham Lincoln. He's not the only one that's ever said this, but he's the most, like, I think the most famous, but
he said, damn, this sucks.
Yeah. Well, that partially, he said, I was driven to my knees by the overwhelming conviction that I had nowhere else to go.
Oh,
and that's what the experience was like. I was like literally driven down to my knees.
It's a little more eloquent.
It's just, yes, but it's like, I mean, it's eloquent because it's because I was there. I was like literally on my knees and just saying, like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Nobody cares. I can't go back.
Yeah.
I can only, it's like, it's like this. And I remembered this thing about like this thing I'd heard, read about, like, it's called The Secret, where, you kind of like, it's positive thinking, envision what you want to do.
Sure.
And then you pursue it or whatever. Anyways, it was like, so I started thinking about this concept of like, just trying to focus my, refocus, just try to think about, like, okay, all these avenues have been closed to me, I've just got to throw away all this. 'Cause I'd read all these books about like how to start a publishing company, how to like get your book out, all this different stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, I got to dump all that stuff because it's all it's doing. Like I've checked every box. I've done everything I could possibly do. And then I remembered, I was like, so what have I achieved? What has actually worked? And I was like, well, I actually did pretty well selling books person to person at the mall. And I'm like, well, I just need to get in front of some people,
Yeah.
And so I was born in a little town called Elma in it's like central Michigan. It's right next to Mount Pleasant. I was born in this little town called Elma. When I grew up as a kid there was this, I always remembered this, like it was called Scotland, USA is the name of this little town.
Yeah.
That's the nickname. And they have this Highland Festival. It's a Scottish Highland Festival there, where there's like the Scottish games and musics and stuff. And they also had this big fair there, And so so I was like, you know what? I just remember there's a ton of people there, and I think they sold stuff there. I'm wondering if I can go up there and sell my book there. And so I called up the lady, and she was like, we have an art fair here. Is that what you're talking about? And I go, yeah, I guess. And she was like, well, are you an artist? And I was like, well, I wrote these books, and I designed them and stuff like that. I put all these books together. And she was like, well, you're an artist. And I was like, so you can come do this show. And I was like, great. Like I didn't get into the art world because I was trying to, wear a little fancy red beret.
Yeah.
I got into it out of desperation, just trying to sell, flog a couple books and, pay my next bill. And so I went up there that weekend, and it was incredible because I met some like family friends that I hadn't seen since I was a child. Like, I mean, we were there. I hadn't seen them in, like, I was 30 years old at that point. And, I hadn't seen these guys since I was like 5, like, cause I'm almost saying long time no see to somebody. I hadn't seen them in 25 years. And so anyways, but that weekend I sold 40 books. I made like, whatever that is, like,
rent
$1,500 or something. It was massive.
Yeah.
And I was like,
hey,
this is what I can do, man.
That's how we met. You were here. We're in Berkeley, right close to the Podcast Your Voice studios here, downtown Berkeley. I'm walking down, and I love Detroit. I enjoy sports. I don't know sports, apparently. If you were listening from the beginning,
you're putting a lot of sense together for people, though.
Yeah. So I'm cruising through the fair, and I was like, oh, look at this Detroit stuff. This is interesting. And you were there, and you gave me that elevator pitch. And then, but it was good 5-6 years later.
Yeah.
And I started doing a little more podcasting stuff, and I gave you a call, and then we started to do this. So that got you into the fairs, right?
Well, the thing about it was that it's relevant. I know when we talk about these aspects.
Market.
Yeah, there was the Inspired Marketplace. It's it's the indoor, art,
because those art
fairs
have changed and how they work and the dynamics of it. And so
this was like a dog coming that was like had been living outside and now gets to come into the house for the first time.
Hey,
that's how it felt for me, because I'd been out on the road like every single weekend. I ended up doing Kalamazoo Crossroads, because I'm actually from Kalamazoo. It's where I spent most of my life. And so there's a mall out there. Some of my friends let me stay on their couch, sleep on their couch.
Wow.
And so for an entire Christmas season, while I sold books at that mall and did pretty well there. Just a better mall a little bit than the Birchwood. And, I was crazy stories then, but I was like, sleeping on my friend's couch and selling books all day in Crossroads Mall, Kalamazoo that was my second year in business. And, so it's like all I was doing was but the thing is the reason I'm not trying to rehash all this. There's a lot of stuff we already talked about on this, but the thing about it is it's relevant to like what, where I've been up to lately is that I told myself at that time, like, it was kind of like, it was just saying there about the idea of the quest, like I told myself at that time, like, I got these doors shut in my face, like the world didn't react to how I wanted it to react to me, to the books or to what I was trying to say or whatever. And I was just like, I don't give a shit anymore. Like the mentality, like it was such a, like, in a lot of ways, like, I don't care. I mean, like, however this turns out, like whether this thing takes off in another direction or whether I end up in a ditch, it's been the same mentality since those earliest days, which was like I've just like, it's something, a fuse blew, like of the fuse that blew was like, I'm like the expectations I have for like the way that I think things should be,
right.
And it's like, it's like there's the reality. And like, the thing is like, I've been learning more and more about that reality as life's gone on. Like I've like the fuse that blew was this sense of like normalcy where there's like this sort of a, like sort of a smooth operating world. And you discover this. Oh, that's great. We'll put you on TV and such. It don't work like that. At least not for me.
No.
So for me, it's been the concept has been like for me, it's just like, I'm just going to all I'm going to do is just work. I'm just going to work. I'm going to outwork everyone else. And it like, what, like, it doesn't like, maybe nobody's ever done anything. Like, there's plenty of people that have done these like quests or whatever it is like this. But for me, it's like, I don't care. I am not, my last breath, if I have to, will be telling this story.
Yeah.
My last, like every ounce of energy, like it doesn't matter what I have to do. I'm going to scrape and claw and fight to the next day, to the next week, whatever. And I'm never going to stop until like basically it's going to be like checking a box on a thing, like to-do list, like done, brought back to city champions, and then I get to move on to my next thing.
That's it.
But it's like, it's not like, there is literally nothing that's going to like, it's nothing. I mean, God, the only thing like God will stop me, but nothing here on earth will, you know what I mean? Like at least not stop me from trying.
Yeah.
And so anyways, and so
but you're spending a lot of time keeping that Inspire Marketplace up and running.
Yes.
All the artists, there's like 100 different artists,
110,
just all kinds of various, very cool Michigan-made coolness.
So as it relates to this store, that what's been going on lately is that the store ended up, I was doing art fairs and art shows and like these I was doing a lot of these. I was doing an art show every weekend, and then I was doing like country clubs in the Christmas season. I was doing country clubs, like I was doing like 3 or 4 country club shows a week.
Oh wow, okay.
Like I was like doing a show every day,
Yeah. And
the thing about the art stores, the Inspire stores, is that the way that works is like if you have a space in the store, you're renting space, but you can like work hours in the store to reduce your rent, so you can get credits against your rent.
Sure.
So I was like ended up like working for other people. And then I was just putting I was starting to like shift a lot of my time from like art fairs into the stores to the point where I was like, basically, I was a manager. I was like one of the managers there. There's a bunch of different managers. I was one of the managers there. And then it got to a point just a couple years ago where the store, like we were in real bad shape, man. Like the economy was down, whatever. Money, like our money was down.
You didn't dive in to fix it. It might've gone away.
Exactly. So basically I faced a crossroads where it was just I faced a crossroads, which was that, you know, there's basically, I mean, it was so bad that it was like, you know, the store was about to close. I mean, there's no other way around it. And so that's no other way to put it. We were about to fold, and it was kind of like I faced a crossroads, which is like, you know, I'd done pretty well for the 2 years leading up to that. I'd been really got into gold and silver, and I'd been stacking gold and silver pretty heavily leading up to that point. And so I'm like, maybe this is the moment for me to break off. I can jump ship, and I've got gold and silver backing me, and I can go start my life doing something else. But I knew that whatever else, I wasn't going back to doing art fairs. They made money. I met a lot of people, which is cool, but I'm just, you know, I'm getting older, and I don't want to just have to lug tents and stuff all the time and unload my truck every week, as every weekend is shot when you're doing art fairs. You're somewhere else in the state. You can kind of make up the difference because you're seeing people you haven't seen before, you know, or at least in a long time. You know, you're always visiting people that, you know, you're staying in connection with people that you maybe never, you know, wouldn't see for a decade. All of a sudden you're showing up every summer to say what's up, you know, because they live nearby where you're doing a show. So that was pretty cool. But as far as like my family, my immediate family and friends and stuff, you know, you're just, you never see them because you're always out of town, you know, and it's like you're living kind of a life of a gambler, because if you have one bad weekend, you know, you're rolling out hundreds and thousands of dollars for checks in advance to like secure your space in the shows. But then you don't actually get to recoup that money until months later. And then if you have a bad show, you're basically out of luck. You can't pay your bills, and you're done for a week or two.
Subject to extreme heat, crappy weather, just conflicts. It's like, oh, there's like 4 other shows happening in town, so our attendance was off.
Or
there's
rains,
so many things.
Or it rains, or a windstorm blows your tent away. I've lost like 3 tents in the windstorms.
Yeah, you're so susceptible.
You're done. It's your weekend's over. You're out of the money. You lost your booth fee, and you have a hole in your budget that you have to somehow figure out a way to borrow money from family or overcome somehow. It's a tough life. So that's what I'm saying, is like the stores are really, had been really great for me. And when the stores were going down, the fork in the road for me was looking at this and saying, you know, if I go pursue some other direction in my life for another business, another store, whatever it is, then like, I have no idea what's going to result of the City of Champions thing. You know, like, I don't know. This store works so well because I'm in the store working, I'm in the store managing. Yeah. And then here's my big display with my City of Champions books. I can pitch this thing all day long while I'm doing my daily thing. And I can also do research. I can do all kinds of stuff. And then, but it was like when the store was about to collect, like about to fall apart, you know, it was about to end, you know, it was like, you know, what am I going to do? You know, what's the next direction, you know? And it was like, but it was bizarre because like I was talking to the owner of the store and everything at that time. And we both came up with the same kind of agreement that it felt like we were facing the idea of the store closing, but it didn't feel like we were supposed to leave. It didn't feel like that was the time it didn't feel like that was it. It felt more like this is a major obstacle that you have to overcome. That's what it felt like. It didn't feel like we were about to close it. Like all signs were pointing to the store being about to close.
Signs saying,
but the vibe, you know, we were talking with back and forth. We're like, it doesn't feel like that this is the time. It feels like this is one of those obstacles that has to be overcome. And
but there's been a rough 8 months here.
It's been over more than that.
It's been a year. It's been And so, but you've got things hammered out. Things are on the upswing.
Yeah. So
you added another local store.
Fast forward a year and a half of brutality. And so I switched everything that I was doing. I'm like, I've got to, you know, these City of Champions project. I'm not like the research is done. The books are done. We've got a great lineup in the show catalog. I've got to focus on this business and turn this thing around because, you know, talking with the owner, she's like, look, if we could turn this business around, it could really turn this place into a moneymaker. We'll finance whatever you want to finance. You know what I mean? Baseball team, you know, get a movie out, whatever, City of Champions movie. So it's like, you know, if we turn this thing, I'm looking around going, we have the greatest gift shop in the state of Michigan. We really do. It's an incredible gift shop. And I mean, our lineup of talent, we've been developing talent in there for 15 years, and we have like the best of the best. It's not an art gallery. It's a made in Michigan gift shop. And it's just like the creme de la creme of people in there.
That's cool.
And so one of the big things that kind of led me
there's 110 artists. Those 110
super talent.
Those 110 people would have taken a hit in their 100%. Income. I mean,
everyone.
You know,
it would have been disastrous. It would have been catastrophic for the art community in Detroit.
Yeah. So well, I'm glad you're doing that, and
but it was 100% focus. I had to, I really had to. I was banging this thing. I've been working like
I'm bugging you all the time. Well,
I feel terrible.
I really wanna because it's been a hot minute since we did this, but it is. We'll get to it. We do still have to do the final game of each. We haven't done the final game.
That's crazy that
I know we haven't done. We got to do the final game.
Oh my God.
Of each one. We were saving that. We were saving that. It's teasing it, man. Chris is freaking out. He really needs this. No, I don't.
No,
but but yeah. So we got to do that. I don't know if we'll do. We'll do how many episodes that will take.
We want to do it back.
Will it take 3 episodes?
We just got to pick out a line.
Will they take 2 episodes for each one? I will have to look at that and see what the information breaks down.
But you're right. We got to do that. We got to finish it off. It's not fair, man.
So your attention's been on that, but it's to keep the forum alive.
Yeah,
to keep the books out there at people's.
But the craziest thing is it was at that sort of fork in the road where it's like you can go and do something else that's probably a lot more stable, or you can stick it out with this lot and try to take this thing into the and figure out a way forward. One of the big sort of the sort of bullets in the chamber that I had to work with was the idea that there was at that exact moment. It was the funniest thing. I was coming out of the back room and I cook my food in these stores in the back room, right? I have like a little
ramen noodles.
Heck no. I eat way better. I'm a gourmet cook, man. I have a skillet in the back. I don't eat
ramen noodles with ketchup. Okay.
No, heck no, man.
Dijon mustard.
No, I figure out a way to eat good. Right? I don't screw around. I can cook, dude. I can cook really well. Right, it's one of my skills. I can turn anything into a great meal. All right. So anyways, but I was coming out of this back room and I had a spatula. I was like cleaning the spatula off. I was like a small worker, like cleaning. And there's a guy standing there with this lady. They're both wearing suits, and the guy's standing there and he's like, this is early on. This is like when the store is like really at its worst moment.
Sure.
And this guy's like looking around, like, if you see people that are like looking around, like in awe, like, oh my God, this place is amazing, And usually it's the first time you've been in there. You're like, I can't believe how much stuff is here.
Buy a few things, man.
But it was even better than that. The guy was he's the vice president of Parodies, which is the biggest airport retailer in the country. And so he's standing there and he's telling me this is like the greatest gift shop I've ever seen. Like, I couldn't believe
and he knows what he's talking about.
He's in the business. Yeah. And he's like, this gift shop is insane, And he's like, and that was really a thing that kind of sparked my mind to help me wake my decision a little bit, because he's like, this is a guy. He's a vice president of $1 billion company, and he didn't
have to say that. He could have just went, "You have cool stuff."
Yeah, but he was. But the reason, there was a reason why he was saying it, because he was like, we want to sponsor an entry, this store into the airport.
Oh, hey.
And we want to like manage the store, but you guys can provide the product and stuff. We have like a handmade gift shop in the airport, which like doesn't exist. And you guys are like, this is a legitimate, store. You're in the mall. This is like an awesome store. And so anyways, that was one of the things, like the fact that we were running for, that this opportunity existed, that, if anything, this thing could pull us out of the mud. If we got a shot in the airport, it's like the biggest thing. It's like, so on one side we're facing destitution, right? Yeah. And on the other side is the biggest opportunity that anybody there's ever known to get in the airport.
Well, it's funny because the first time you went for that, you got denied.
We lost. Yeah.
And then, but now
the worst thing was, Jamie, is I gave this big speech at this. I gave a presentation at the airport board of directors, and I thought I nailed it. I thought I nailed it, man. I was like, I was giving you an idea that the sort of end of it. It's only like 3 minutes long, because I go, people. I go, how many people that come to the airport? Your guests that come to the airport. I was like, how many people would prefer to go out to the parking lot and grab a pebble from the parking lot? I was like, rather than a shot glass that says Detroit but was made in China. I was like, wouldn't you want, don't you want to give your passengers, your people, a better gift option than a pebble from the parking lot? That's what we're here is to make handmade gifts from Michigan, made out of Michigan stuff. And I was like, we're here to give them their higher, better choice than a pebble out of the parking lot.
And they said, no, we're going to stick with the pebble.
But it felt like that guy from Coming to America with the guy's sexual chocolate. He just puts his soul into a song, and then they go, Yeah, next, you go, oh my God, I thought that was pretty good, so I didn't get it. So we didn't get it.
But things have turned around, and now the offer's back up there, and it looks like
not
it's
only
coming
offers
to
back,
fruition.
no, we landed the spot
It's
recently this week.
So,
we landed it. We got a spot.
Excellent.
So that's good. And so we got that going.
I got that going for me.
I got
that going for me.
So that went. And so we got other things. We're looking at doing a pop-up in Grand Rapids this year for Christmas at Rivertown, which that's Chris' neck of the woods.
So that's nice. It's fun that you have a forum that publicizes and sells the City of Champions book and gear.
Yeah.
So that's very, very cool.
It is.
And you've helped save.
We're taking this thing to the next level. We've got this. I had a guy. I was talking to the guy today, this major, mover and shaker in Detroit, who's saying that he wants us to come down to downtown Detroit and get a store out front of the stadiums.
Yeah,
which would be awesome. So a stadium store out front of the stadium somewhere. Or
I'm gonna retire next year. I'll need to work.
Well, there you go.
Work the shop.
Yeah, and then we're also looking at going up north for the summer season, like Mackinac City or Petoskey or something. So we're going to get a shop up there. So we got things moving in the right direction. And if things like like I say, the idea being that it's for the first time in my life I'm really focusing on business and money and this and that. Focusing on making money. And the thing is, I think that we're in a situation where this thing could actually turn out to, it's like I never stopped working on the City of Champions. Never. I still am not. And it's kind of with the same mentality now, which is like, I've tried all these different routes. I spent I spent over a decade, like reaching out to, newspaper writers and millionaires and billionaires and whatever, trying to get interest in the City of Champions story, trying to get interest in the baseball project I do. And now it's kind of like my mentality is like, it's really switched gear. And it's like, you know what? I'm tired of begging. I'm tired of this. I'm just going to make my own money. I'm going to make myself a millionaire, a billionaire, a whatever, and I'm going to freaking finance my own projects. And then I don't have to worry about it anymore. I don't have to try to beg, and I don't have to worry about whether somebody else thinks it's a good idea, because I think it's a good idea, and I'm going to be able to finance it myself. So that's where I'm at. That's why I've been I've been sort of absent a little bit, not a little bit from this show. Because it's like I say, it's been all consuming in every single day.
It's been a year, bro.
Yeah, Jamie. I know it's been that long. It's been that long. But somebody that maybe is watching the show for the first time and they're kind of cruising through episodes.
Cool. Yeah, they won't.
The next episode.
It was the next click over.
This is just the next click over. They didn't know that, but now they do.
We were on a break.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, but for them it was just one click over. He just gave the game away.
I know, but we still, like I said, we still got to do the wrap ups on the three big ones. I would like to do those from someplace special, like either like at Comerica Park or down at the Joe, maybe somewhere downtown at the Detroit Historical Museum. Do it someplace. Do those someplace remote, and just kind of have fun with it. And if people want to join us, they can. But just kind of do them just to be in the thing. I'd like to do the one in the Lions and with the trophy right there with us. How we did with the boat, and we had the Miss America, X, the Miss America 10 there with us right there live at the Packard Museum, and talking about the races with her and just sitting in front of that boat. So if you're interested, it's fun. It's a fun to see. We're sitting there right in front of the Miss America 10.
That was a great show. I love that show.
And then, we talked to the people at the Packard plant. So I'd like to do something like that for those shows.
Yeah.
Go somewhere. Maybe where
just
where
set
the
up
trophies
an awesome
are housed.
background or something with all the newspapers all laid out, the original newspapers all laid out, so we can actually show the newspapers on the show.
So talking about newspapers, and I kind of talked about this. We talked about this off air, and it's something that I wanted to do. And then do you know which one of my favorite? So many favorites. Do you know one of my favorite side stories though of this whole thing?
With the side story from Eddie Tolan, the other runner, Michigan runner, Willis Ward.
So Willis Ward is one of my is part of the dynamics of the 35, and I just love it. And we talked about how the students were in an uproar because Willis Ward, and you can go back and you can see those Willis Ward episodes. We'll link it in the show notes. But how Arthur Miller was a student at the University of Michigan at the time, the Crucible and all that Arthur Miller, and he wrote for the school paper, and apparently he had written, because in your reporting, your telling of the story, you said he wrote some really scathing editorials, and I've been trying to find them here, but they're not bylined. Here's the problem: they're not, and I'm trying to find the dates, and I saved the Michigan Daily is the paper for the University of Michigan at the time. And I've saved a bunch of those, but I wanted to do this with like the Detroit Times and the Detroit Free Press. The news wasn't around. It was a Free Press and the Times.
There's all three. Detroit News,
the news was there too.
Detroit Times, right. Yeah.
So, but I wanna go in and kind of dive into the papers and see the stories.
Are you talking about you're gonna do that, or have you been doing it and you want to show me?
Well, I have the University of Michigan
okay.
one. I have a bunch of them. I don't have today's date because we agreed to do this like earlier this afternoon.
Yeah.
We're like, we're gonna do it today. All right, cool. So, but I had one sitting on my desktop because it had some Willis Ward stuff in it. So I want to go through these papers and then just kind of look at like the other things that happened. So it's the Michigan Daily. So I've found the Michigan Daily. And if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, you can see the Michigan Daily there. And this one is Saturday, December 14th of 1935. And it's cool because there's Jack Classy sets a new world breaststroke record, a new world mark. And how do we miss this one? Is this a 30? Does this make 34? Well, the breaststroke.
Well, my favorite aspect of the Willis Ward thing is that he raced Jesse Owens.
Yeah,
that's like the coolest thing. It's like the story, like especially the rivalry with Michigan, Ohio State. And
so you can see
that dynamic, which is Willis Ward is like battling against Jesse Owens. Like that was the matchup.
He wasn't sure if he was going here in December of 35. He wasn't sure yet. And if you see it just in the underneath the corner of the picture there, it says athlete has to decide Olympic problem, Ward. And so he was talking about having to decide that. So here's the story. And again, it's not bylined because I'm looking for these Arthur Miller editorials. This is why I really started digging into these. Mm-hmm. But then I just got excited to read these. So former Michigan star says individuals must follow his own opinion because he looks on at the 1936 Olympiad in Berlin as tainted. Willis Ward, 38L, former one-man track team and star end on the Michigan football squad of 1933 and 1934, and last night declared he was not so sure he would participate in the games. So he wasn't sure he was going.
But he didn't go. From my memory is correct from where we were really diving into that was that he just decided not to do it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Jesse Owens faced the same thing, but he ended up going anyways and became a legend. So that's what that's where their stories deviate. You know?
So maybe Ward would have been up there.
Well, he would have. I think that's the problem. That's the conundrum with his story is why would he not?
Yeah.
Because Jesse Owens went, and the thing is, I've read other stories about Jesse Owens where one of the aspects of the Jesse Owens stories in Berlin is where they're like, oh, Hitler was this like ultimate racist or whatever. But the thing is, I read somewhere where Jesse Owens said something about like Hitler actually was like nice to him in some capacity. Like Hitler didn't shun him or anything like this. Wow. He said a piece where he's like, at least like, back home, like I can't even, I can't even, I'm basically like treated as a second class citizen at home, and out here I've just been fine. It's something along those lines. Like they didn't mistreat him while he was there. And so that's what I'm saying is like I just wonder, like with Willis Ward, at the very least, there is that sense of, to me, that's always the downside of the Willis Ward story is that he didn't go out there because there was a big thing in the American papers about whether Jesse Owens should go. Okay.
Right.
To show, because the thing is, at the time that you're sitting there going, well, Hitler's this big time racist or whatever. Right. But the thing about it was that it wasn't much better in America. I mean, for black people.
Yeah.
So if that's the case,
35,
so if that's the case, like the moral righteousness of people trying to tell Jesse Owens he shouldn't go, it makes me wonder if there was more to the story about why they didn't want Jesse Owens to go. If there was something else that was not involved with racism, that there was some other motivation that was trying to stop Jesse Owens from going out there.
We don't need that European racism. We got all of our racism that we need right here in the States.
It's the concept from the Bible where it says before you pull the beam, before you pull the sliver out of somebody else's eye, you should pull the beam out of your own.
Sure.
So the question is like, why were they so concerned about the supposed racism from Berlin when they had plenty, like where they're like, well, all of a sudden they're the guardians of moral virtue, and they're going, oh, you shouldn't go because they're racist. Well, what about here?
There's a little bit more in the story here from Ward, and there's some quotes from him from this. And so Ward, who is the principal speaker at the Student League for Industrial Democracy, open forum on the Olympics participation questions, said he believed nevertheless that Americans should send a team to Berlin if, and this is in quotes, fair play is assured by us, or for us, by the German government, and no underhand methods are employed. So they're worried it was going to be fair. But I mean, that was like we grew up in the late 80s and, the Russians, and it's like, oh, they're cheating, them damn Russians. Yeah, well, Reagan of the Cold War, and they're all coming through into the Olympics.
Those fears are unfounded because at Jesse Owens, if there was foul play, they wouldn't have let Jesse Owens win all those gold medals.
Sure, yeah.
And so that fear was misplaced. And the question becomes, how is it misplaced? If it was not misplaced,
sure,
they wouldn't have let him win all those gold medals.
Yeah.
They would have cheated. They would have, done whatever it was, put rocks in his shoes or tripped him up or had a guy that elbowed him, whatever. But I'm saying is that the question then remains, like, what was the driving force, sure, the thrust to try to prevent them from going out there and participating in those Olympic Games?
Yeah.
Was it really racism is the question, sure, or was it some other motivation?
So the story continues. The impossibility of solving the American entry problem with a categorical yes or no was stressed by Ward. He pointed out that in the very face of alleged intolerant, discriminatory policies of the German government towards Jews and the Negro, it might be possible for the United States delegates to help smash the Hitler elite theory of Aryan supremacy by a display of capabilities of our Jewish and Negro athletes. In final analysis, Ward declared participation or boycott must be decided by the individual athletes.
Yeah.
And that was a quote from him. Still a quote from him. If our athletes are assured that the contest will be fair, most of them will want to go, he said. So Reed, 36 sports reporter of the Daily, told the forum that the failure of the United States to compete would be a blow to the individual athletes and to the sports in this country for the hope of someday participating in the Olympics. And that's been the argument. It's like when we're like, oh, we shouldn't go, or it's like, oh, you can't let Russian athletes compete because, so they can't, because they're in a war, right?
Yeah.
So they're like, well, they can compete, but they can't do it under their flag, right? They have to use some like Olympic flag.
Politics get dragged in the Olympics, and the problem is that that's where the reason why the Olympics exist was the coming together of all nations, no matter what kind of grievances, to compete on the athletic playing field rather than killing each other on the battlefield.
All right, so that was a story about Willis Ward there in the 35 December issue of the Michigan Daily. There's another story in here. Student suffers severe burns in laboratory. Poor Edward Page lost 2 fingers.
Jeez.
Eddie, where's your fingers, Eddie?
Damn, that's brutal.
There's on the headline, I don't know if it shows up in there. No, it's underneath the fold. Lewis wins in 4th round with knockout. So this is on the front page. It's below the fold.
Which fighter was it?
So New York, December 13th, with the first and only earnestly plays punch of the entire abbreviated performance, a crushing right hook to the side of the face. Joe Louis exploded the remnants of the one-time rock rib resistance of Paulino Uzcanda.
Oh yeah. This is by this point. Yeah, Joe's already going strong. He's already.
Use condom. Use condom.
Paulino, yeah. No, Paulino is
Uzcudun.
Paulino is Scudin.
Is it use condom? Is his name use condom?
No, of course
That's
not.
a rough childhood.
No, I think that was the guy.
Uzcudun. Use condom.
Uzcudun, I think his name is. Yes.
Uzcudun.
They call
that's probably better.
They call him some like the Basque turtle or something.
that's probably better than use condom.
They call him like the Basque. Did they call him like the Basque turtle or something like that in that article? Like his nickname. Because I believe he was a fighter.
He was a rock rib resistance.
Yeah, because he had a style where
he's 36 Spaniard for the first time.
Yeah, Spaniard.
He went down for the first time in the 4th round.
His nickname was like the Basque Brawler or something like this because but it was like the Basque Turtle or something. He had this distinctive fighting style where he was like basically he was like in a turtle shell. He was like this that's why they call him rock rib because he was like. He'd like fight in a crouch and he was all kind of turtled up. Like all of his body parts were all closed in together. and then he would like basically take a bunch of punches.
Here we go.
Then he would come out of the.
It's right here. It's right here. The sensational Detroit Negro, after jabbing and experimenting for 3 rounds with the crab-like stance of the aging Spaniard, brought the fight to an abrupt finish with a short left to the chin, followed by a smashing right that shocked Paulino and doubled him over backwards. On the floor for the first time in his life, Paulino staggered to his feet at the count of 8, but was hopelessly groggy and bleeding. He absorbed one more right to the head. He's bleeding. Let him go. Let him go. Joel, take it easy on him. He absorbed one more right to the head, wavered towards the rope, and looked hopelessly at the referee. Dude, stop this already. My head, I'm bleeding over here.
Well, that's what I say. But he was like, it was this really bizarre stance he was in. I don't think there's ever been anybody that's ever fought like him ever since, because he's like, well, they say crab-like. That's what it was like.
Yeah.
He was like crouched and like all of his arms were pulled together and that. So he was like basically you're punching at the top of his head or at his shoulders, or whatever. He was like a rock. Basically.
So the referee was Arthur Donovan.
Yeah, that's the big guy.
Arthur.
He was the guy that refereed all the big all the big bouts.
All right. So Arthur Donovan promptly called a halt. 2 minutes and 32 seconds of the 4th round had elapsed.
But it looks like
so it's cool that these are
beatings. It took a bunch of shots because he was turtled up, like he was all crouched.
So, but I think that's interesting. And then $1,000 was lost at the Michigan Theater. So $1,000, it's like 23,000 today.
The thing is about it is inflation's different. I've come up with the realization that the inflation category doesn't take it. All the inflation category does is base it off of like fiat currency.
All right.
It doesn't base it off of the gold. So think
about
this,
my quick Google said
$23,000.
23,000. A grand was lost at the Michigan Theater.
Okay, so you say 23,000, but so $1,000 at the time was convertible into silver dollars, right? They actually had silver dollars back then. The silver dollars were 0.77 ounces of silver.
Yeah.
So if you divide 1,000, or you take 10,000 and you multiply that, or I'm sorry, you take $1,000, you multiply that by 0.77. All right, because that's how many. So you get 770 ounces of silver. Okay, the current price of silver today is $35.96 an ounce, right? So you multiply that by 35.96. The number I got is 27,689.
All right.
So that's the value. So that's what I'm saying. Anytime that there's a circulating silver currency with the number, in my opinion, it has that inflation has to be adjusted to by the silver price, because that's what those dollars were exchangeable for.
So E.C. Ashby is kind of kicking himself now. Approximately $500 in cash and $500 in negotiable checks was lost or stolen from E.C. Ashby of the Bloomfield Open Hunt Club, Bloomfield Hills. It was reported late last night to the management of the Michigan Theater. Ashby, who had been attending the second evening show of the Gerald Hogue, manager of the Michigan Theater, he believed the money disappeared while he was in the theater. Local police officers have been notified of the disappearance, and banks will be warned this morning not to honor those checks.
Well, but then the flip side of that story, there's another side of the story which says there's another guy walking around that discovered $1,000.
Yeah,
This is the greatest day of my life. Like there's some major business founded somewhere by some guy that found $1,000.
Oh, here's the social pages: fraternity throwing big gala.
There you go. Is that what it says?
No.
Well, I was gonna say, there you go, Ashby. We found your money.
I bet you. There's a shopping guy.
Ashby, we found your money. It's a big kegger they're having right out next door.
Ladies love lingerie for Christmas. They love dainty, personal, intimate apparel that will glorify their sweet selves.
Yeah, they do.
And they will love, we assure you, any large assortment that we have. Pardonable.
Yeah, I think it's great. I agree.
So get your ladies some fancy underpants for Christmas.
Yeah,
there's a letter to the editor about temperance education.
Yeah,
because this is just after Prohibition, and people are still like, "Stop drinking," and we're like, "We're drinking again."
It's been a long time. We can get back to drinking if we want.
Yeah. So as an all-inclusive as a college curricula we made today, they are strikingly incomplete in one respect. The student has no possibility of learning the rudiments of drinking. Oh, I think you go to college to learn the rudiments of drinking.
And they started relearning it in 1934 when the Prohibition.
That's right. Whatever education has been acquired it's an extracurricular nature for sure. Certainly the result of a society wasteful. Well, it's a trial and error method.
That's like, I mean, that's another aspect
pissed off about people being able to drink.
And that's another like aspect of how like a detail that's so interesting, you know, about the City of Champions story too is 1934. That's when they lifted the prohibitions on beer and liquor. So Detroit City of Champions kicks off, you know, 34, 35. These are the first years that beer and liquor are legalized in 20 years or whatever. Like that's huge. Like they're gonna imagine your beer and liquor are finally legalized after 20 years, and your teams are all kicking ass. You know, they're all winning championships and that. You know, it's like it's awesome.
So I'd say I like kind of hopping around through these old.
Well, that's
papers.
how it was when I was doing the research. Is you're jumping around, you're seeing all kinds of
can't
stories.
Imagine.
Which are just like, you know, driving you off in different directions.
But then there was a world record set in the breaststroke during one of the champions of the Big Ten here.
Yeah, they're doing all that. They're setting records all the time.
So was it a Michigan person? Was this a Detroit? Was it another champion?
Well,
it
just depends.
Champion?
It just depends. I mean,
or is that college stuff just college crap and you don't care about it?
You could throw college stuff in there, you know. But the thing about it is that the Champions Day party had long since been taking place, April 18th. So
no, this is December 14 of 35.
Oh, is it? Well,
this is
factored in. Then yeah, it looks like you got another champion to tag up on the wall, bro.
We'll put them right up there with the pigeons. We'll have to suss this out with the pigeons. We've been talking about them damn pigeons for 116 episodes.
I'm losing track of how many there even was anymore, man.
So yeah, the Wolverines' junior performance in the high spot of the evening, breaking another record, an unofficial world record. He batters his way through the 100-meter. So yeah, and it was like a quartet. So
we'll write his name down so we can tack him up on the long list of championships, man.
It is. There's more. That was just the first 2 pages of shenanigans. There's more in here. There's like a 2.5 page shopping guide. It's December 14th.
Yeah,
so
it's coming up to Christmas.
They're trying to give people ideas for shopping for the holiday. I was looking for the sports page proper, and this might just be because it's near the holiday, end of the semester. They're kind of giving up. Fraternity and sorority fetes are scheduled. Functions given tonight will mark the last to be given before Christmas. It's funny. It's so sorority parties. Alpha Epsilon Phi sorority will hold a closed formal tonight at the Union. Have you ever been to the Michigan Union?
I have not.
So I've DJ'd the people can rent it out for weddings and stuff. Yeah. I've DJ'd a bunch of parties in the Union. It's funny to see this. So in 35, I'm like, I've DJ'd that.
Yeah.
I've DJ'd these parties. And it's funny. All right. So the tonight at the Union, Evelyn Bluestein, 37, class of 37, social chairman, has announced that Billy Sawyer's orchestra will play for the dance. Frida Loeb and Dr. and Mrs. S.M. Goldhammer and Dr. and Mrs. Jerry Kahn will be the chaperones.
Nice.
It's funny. Delta, Delta, Delta. They're having their Christmas formal, and H.H. Higbee and Mr. and Mrs. Carl Coe will be the chaperones. It's funny. I was going through my dad's old yearbooks, and when he was in high school, I think it was Catholic Central, or was at U of D, something like that. So I think it was Catholic Central. And anyway, but so it was the Moms Club, right? It was whatever it was called. It was the Mothers Club, but it was like all the moms. There were pictures of all the moms, right?
Yeah.
It was like, it wasn't the Varsity Club, crap, but it was like all the names were Mrs. John Smith, Mrs. Dave Jones, Mrs. So all the women were named as Mrs. and their husband's name.
Yeah.
It wasn't their names.
Yeah, what's wrong with that? Come on.
It's just interesting to see these, right? So it's this actually says, oh, nope, that's what the coordinator. So all the chaperones are all just the men's name. It's not like Dave and Louie or Dave and Louise or something, but it's just, Dr. and Mrs. J. Walter Steenberg, Dr. and Mrs. George Monroe. So anyway, so that's that just kind of cracks me up.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me when I think of stuff like that. Whenever I think of those like formals and stuff, I think of that movie with what is it? What's the movie with Jimmy Stewart with is it Miracle on 34th Street with Donna Reed? Is that the movie? The one where he goes and sees like the with the world without if he never.
Yeah.
Is that Miracle on 34th Street?
No, that's
A Wonderful Life.
Wonderful
Yes,
Life.
that's like it's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
But I just think of like those parties they had like at the, where he's first courting Donna Reed.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like the images that I get into my minds whenever I think of like those like formal like the sort of the courting rituals back in the 1930s is from that It's a Wonderful Life. Like that's the kind of the picture that I get.
Yeah.
I mean, that's when they're trying to present that story. I mean, they're because it's George and what's her name in the movie, but
yeah.
But anyways, that's contemporary with the 30s. Like that's what that's portraying because I mean, it shows like a few years later, his brother goes to World War II and stuff. So so I just think that's a cool aspect of It's a Wonderful Life is that they show kind of like the sort of the courting rituals of that time, the tradition, all the way to the point where they're like dancing in the gym and stuff and the floor opens. That isn't necessarily normal, but I just like that. That's whenever I'm hearing articles like you're just mentioning there about the formals where there's like chaperones and stuff, it conjures memories of that, of that movie. It's a Wonderful Life. I can't think of too many other movies that show that specific dynamic, that specific aspect of our history.
We're going to do more of this. We're going to wade through more old papers. We might do it like around the dates. This was December and we're doing this here July 1st, but we're going to do more of that. We're going to play with some old papers. We're going to get some of the Detroit Times and the Free Press and the News. The Detroit Times were just saucy.
Detroit Times are amazing. That's my favorite newspaper.
Yeah, there's saucy writing in that. But like most of these articles in here, because again, what led me down this rabbit hole was trying to find Arthur Miller's, some of his writing, some of his college writing and his, because I examples for my kids, because good writing.
Well, Detroit Times has a bunch of U of M stuff in there too.
Yeah, but it's not byline. None of the stuff is byline. So I don't know which ones Arthur wrote. They have a staff box, and it's like, okay, great. So, but I want to find specifically those editorials he wrote about Willis Ward when the student body was.
I think it's a worthwhile project, man, because there's a lot of aspects of that story that we just do not know.
I know, and then I want to find out where Delta was doing that semester for the formal.
I mean, there's.
Are those Delta girls still around? Are they
probably? Yeah. But that Willis Ward. I mean, there's a lot of holes in that story that have never been really patched up. Like especially like the specific reason why he didn't go to the Olympics. I think that part of it was that he was actually, I think he was like injured or I don't think it was just a pure cut and dry decision they didn't want to go. I think it was a race that he lost that kind of triggered the idea that he didn't think he was going to be good enough or something like this. But no, his story is interesting. There's no doubt. I mean, it's a
we should have stretched before this. It was like podcasting. We're back into it, man.
Right, yeah.
This is good.
I'm all right. Yeah.
I'm feeling good.
Yeah, I feel good too.
Feeling good.
I miss doing
all right, we'll do more of these. So it's Detroit City of Champions, DetroitCityOfChampions.com, Facebook videos go away now after 30 days.
Really?
Yeah.
You can archive and put them on YouTube.
Yeah. Oh, they're all on YouTube.
Good.
So find us on YouTube. They're going up on Spotify. We're gonna be on a Roku app, supposedly.
Really? Cool.
I don't know. The guy said, "Oh, it's going up next week," and it was like 3 weeks ago. So I don't know. We'll see. But definitely, they're on YouTube. They're staying on YouTube. So if you want to go back and see videos, YouTube's a good spot for that. Facebook is changing live because there's live videos, right? So if I take this and I publish it on Facebook, it'll stay, but after 30 days, the live ones go away because kids, they play like, Minecraft or, Call of Duty, and they play like for 12 hours and then the video's on there and it stays on forever. And it's like 12 hours of like some 12-year-old playing crappy.
You'd think that they only have a certain amount of server space. That they can host that kind of data.
So they're like, and they said, after the first 30 days, viewership falls off on live videos in general. So, but if we want them to be up there, we just have to upload them and they will stay. But anything that like this is streaming live, that's why Chris and the other people that have chimed in can see us live while we do it. We appreciate that.
Definitely.
But so it goes away. That's been a change.
That's fine. YouTube's the spot anyway.
That interweb changes.
YouTube's the spot anyway. I like having
it really
stuff
is.
on YouTube.
It really is. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, all those podcast things. in the podcast places. You got anything else?
No, man, it's been good to like get back on the horse a little bit.
All right, cool. All right, we'll see y'all again. We'll do it again very, very soon.